everybody, welcome back to Appa's Kitchen. Today I'm filming on my GoPro, so I'm going to try this out. I got this for my upcoming trip to Italy, so stay tuned. It's going to be really exciting. I'm going to be making some videos out on the street, on the road, but also I'll be cooking because I'm really excited about just getting my hands on some really high quality Italian ingredients. So stay tuned for that coming up in a few weeks. Right now, I'm at home. It's a little bit chilly outside. It's fall, so fall for me is soup season. I just love making soup. And the really nice thing about soup, especially for somebody who lives alone, you can make a big pot of it and then just put containers in the freezer, and then you always have it on hand. If, you're just in the mood for soup, you don't know what to have for dinner, just take out a container of soup and defrost it. So today I'm making beef soup with orzo. Pretty simple. It's been a really long time since I made this. I can't even remember the last time I made it. So I had to call my sister this morning and we discussed like, how do we do it? There are a few things that I do remember. Like I remember that we don't brown the beef before we make the soup, which is something that I would think that you do because it's going to give it more flavor. I also remember that we use short ribs, which I'm not using today. But then there were things like, do we put onion? Do we not put onion? Do we brown the onion? Do we not brown the onion? So I didn't know, and my sister actually couldn't really remember either. So today I'm just gonna do kind of what I think we do and see how it turns out. So let's go to the counter and I'll show you the ingredients. All right, so I got a lot of beef. So first I got this beef shank. It's really bloody. So that was $8.27 for that. It's a pretty big piece of beef. And I am assuming, my sister said this is what she uses. So I'm assuming that, cooking this for a long time is going to result in some nice, tender, flaky beef in the soup. I got these Wagyu baby back, what are they? Wagyu beef back ribs. They don't have a whole lot. Well, actually, I was going to say they don't have a whole lot of meat on them, but they do have some meat. And then I got some bones. These are grass-fed bones. I would have preferred bigger bones, but used to be you could go to the butcher and get the bones for free. Now everybody's making their bone broths. So, price of bones. Okay, some celery. I'm gonna throw the celery tops in the soup with all the beef. And then I'll throw some chopped celery in a little bit later. My mom used to just throw celery and carrots in whole. And then, you would kind of get like this big wilted piece of celery or, this big mushy carrot. But I want my vegetables to be a little bit more solid. So I'm going to chop them and throw them in like an hour or so before the end of cooking so that they're soft, but they're not like mushy. I have a half of an onion that I'm going to use because we weren't sure if we use onions or not. I'm going to chop that up. And yeah, I already talked about the beef bones. And then orzo. So there are two kinds of pasta that we use in soup. Orzo or acini di pepe, which we call pastine. So orzo is what we usually use for beef soup. Oh, and tomato paste. I forgot to put the tomato paste down. Where is that? So I'm just going to squeeze some tomato paste. This is Moti doppio concentrato, double concentrate. My sister said she throws a can of Campbell's tomato soup. My mom definitely never did that. She used to use a can of tomato paste and just put a couple teaspoons in. And I think it's just for the color. It's not really giving it a whole lot of flavor. All right, so I'm excited about beef soup today. Okay, here we have it. Everything's in the pot. All of the beef, the bones, some celery leaves, and a half of an onion chopped. So I'm going to bring it up to a boil, lower it. There's going to be a lot of scum that floats to the top, so you want to skim that off. I forget what they called that, skumata or something like that. So there's a lot of foam that's going to come up. So skim that off and then just let it boil or simmer for a couple hours. It's 11 o'clock now. I'm going to say 12, 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 o'clock. I'll give it a taste. So that's 4 hours. And at that point, I might add my carrots and my celery. So let's see how this goes. This is part experiment and part working from a very foggy memory. All right, the soup is coming to a boil now. So I'm just skimming this off the top. Probably would have been better to wait and put my onions and celery in after this. So note for next time, because you see they're also kind of floating on the top. And I don't want to scoop out all the onions and celery that I put in here. All right, so I'm going to turn it down and just continue skimming this stuff off the top. All right, it's 3 o'clock. It's been 4 hours. My soup has been simmering. I skimmed all the gunk off the top. It looks really nice and rich. The shank, the meat, has fallen off the bone. So I think it's pretty good. Let's give it a little taste. So there's going to be a lot of fat just from, the meat that I put in here. So once it's cooked, I'm going to let it cool down, put it in the fridge overnight. Yeah, that's good. And then I'll skim off the fat tomorrow. All right, so next we're going to add carrots. So I have 2 large carrots here. And 2 stalks of celery. Going to let this cook for about an hour. And then I'll give it a final taste, adjust the seasonings. I'm going to skim out some of this fat. And then let it cool down so I can skim off the rest of the fat. So I might have a bowl of this today, just so that I can finish this video. But really this is for tomorrow and for later in the week. I'm just going to skim out some of this fat now. Some people might like to eat this. Personally, I don't. So it's up to you. I just want to see if this beef falls apart. Yeah. So with very little effort, it just falls apart. So it'll be really easy to shred this beef and put it back in the soup. It's going to be delicious. All right, so I'll see you in about an hour. All right, so I skimmed off most of the fat. I can still see a little bit here, but that's okay. And I'm just gonna, I don't remember how we added the tomato paste. I remember my mom, my mom used to just add a few spoons full, so not the whole can. So this was about a half or a third of a tube of the moti, double concentrated. I think it's just for color. And then I'm going to add back the beef that I removed from the bones, as well as all of my celery and carrots that got caught up in the net when I fished the meat out. And there it is. So a few more pieces of fat are floating to the surface. Some people might like to eat this, but I don't. Okay, there you have it. So I'm gonna cook some orzo now, and then I'll have a little bowl of soup and let you know my final verdict. All right, so I just cooked some orzo, and then drained it, heated up some of the broth, and then I brought it back up to a boil just to combine the two. I'm gonna give it a little taste. All right, the pasta's cooked. So I'm going to transfer everything to a bowl. And we eat locatelli with this, also with chicken soup. So I'm going to sprinkle a little locatelli, pecorino romano. And some black pepper. So locatelli is salty. I did put some salt in the soup, but usually I like to leave things on the less salty side. I know if you watch some of my other videos, you're not going to believe me, but leave things on the less salty side so that I can adjust the seasonings at the end. I like lots of black pepper. And there you have it. Beef soup with Orzo. Delicious. The Orzo are just so smooth and just perfectly cooked. They don't really have any kind of bite or any crunch, so you want to taste it. You want to make sure your orzo cooked. I don't like my orzo in this case to be al dente. The carrots are nice and soft. The beef is tender. The soup is full of flavor. And then the addition of the locatelli and the black pepper, really nice. So that's it, beef soup with orzo. Try it. I put the rest of the broth in the refrigerator. I'm going to skim it tomorrow, skim the fat, and then fill up some containers and put it in the freezer. And then I have beef stock for whatever, more of this or something else in the future. Okay, again, thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.